Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBears Casino. TK joining us today on this Monday morning edition from Court Street Cafe, downtown Port Allen, 5 minutes across the Mississippi River Bridge from downtown Baton Rouge. Great place to go. He's over there. I am in an undisclosed location presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Go to lasportshall.com. Get all your information. We've got a celebrity golf tournament, Spring Golf Classic, coming up May 14th at Oak Wing in Alexandria. You can get your individual tickets or teams on there, as well as, of course, our induction ceremony in June. Drew Brees, Cormier, and some more. And of course, we're presented by LeBears Casino, where we had a great time on Saturday. We did our radio show on 104.5 over at LeBears. Watched a bunch of games. I mean, there were a ton of people there watching NCAA tournament games, March Madness. We had a $1,000 blackjack tournament going on that I was emceeing all afternoon Saturday. Great food. It was awesome atmosphere, and will be again this week for the Sweet 16. TK, today we got a lot to get to, right? LSU baseball lays another egg this weekend. They win on Friday. They lose on Saturday and Sunday. And for the second week in a row, LSU baseball is 10-run ruled in the Sunday game. That is flat out embarrassing. There's no other way to say that. Embarrassing. 12-2, they were beaten by Florida on Sunday. That is the ultimate, dagger. LSU basketball, the women, they take care of business. We kind of got a little disappointed that we didn't get the Louisville LSU matchup on Sunday to get the juice with Haley Van Leith taking on her old team. Instead, they rolled against MTSU, and it's pretty easy. Now they've advanced to Albany for the Sweet 16. Kim Mulkey, very vocal on Saturday at a press conference. There's an article coming out in the Washington Post. Tommy will tell you all about that. It's expected to drop this week. That's not going to be flattering. At least Kim Mulkey expects it not to be flattering. And it has caused quite a controversy in the whirlwind in women's basketball in the last 48 hours. The Pelicans win last night on the road in Detroit. They are now in 5th place in the West, a half a game out of 4th. And the NCAA tournament, chalk for the most part. I mean, the only of the 16 teams, only one double-digit seed, NC State 11 seed, is left. Everybody else is a high seed, a low seed, and somewhat chalk. And then today, Ohtani is going to speak in Los Angeles. Looking forward to that press conference. So many questions. Hopefully, we'll have some answers and get a little better clarification. But unless, Tommy, he steps forward and he says, I gambled, he placed my bets, I wired the money, or he bet, as a friend, and a good friend, I covered his bets for him as a loan. If it's one of those two things, fine. If it's not one of those two things, then this is going to drag on for months and months and months and months, and we may never know the truth of what happened with them.
I think there's more questions than answers. And I think the biggest question is to Ohtani, in your mind, Shohei, what were you giving him the money for? Okay, what did you give him $4.5 million for? In your mind, what did you think it was? If you knew it was gambling, or did you think he dupe you and say, I made a major business investment in a company that failed, or I bought a bank and it failed? And then now the interpreter claimed on his resume he had a degree from University of California, Riverside. They have no record of him being a student. Okay, he claimed he worked for one of the Red Sox players one year. The Red Sox say he never worked for the Red Sox organization. So, they're already blowing holes in him. But the question to Ohtani, first question would be, you gave him $4.5 million. We know that. What in your mind did you give him the money for? I think that's where it should start.
And look, here's the thing: is that we're going to find out how close of friends they are, right? I mean, I suspect they're not close friends anymore, because I'm sure Shohei and his camp is they're going to do whatever and say whatever they've got to do to make sure their client doesn't lose his $700 million contract and doesn't jeopardize his career. And if that means that he's got to turn coat on a friend, then looks like they're going to do it. But the reality is that if this guy didn't steal money, didn't fraudulently obtain that $4.5 million, which is, should be pretty easy to prove if he committed fraud or not. If he didn't commit fraud, then it's one of two things. He was placing bets for Shohei and paying off Shohei's debts, or it was his debts and Shohei loaned him the money for those debts. I'm just, it's just so interesting. It's so interesting. I can't wait for this press conference. I suspect we're going to be left a little disappointed that we're not going to get all the info that we want, but at the same time, I'm excited for this press conference.
Well, Major League Baseball, the season for everybody else other than the Padres and Dodgers opens this Thursday. Dodgers open at home against the Cardinals. By the way, Nolan not listed as a starter for the Phillies. Wheeler's listed as a starter Thursday. But anyway, again, there's more questions than answers. Maybe today provides a couple of answers or some answers. I don't know, but the story's not going to go away. And then, Ronnie, I don't know if you saw the picture on social media. Ohtani was like in front of the dugout with the bat, watching the pitcher. To his right was Mookie Betts. So the back two jerseys were Ohtani Betts. If you looked at the picture, Ohtani Betts. Could even somebody said, "Hey, don't stand by him because they're going to take a picture." But no, it's a bizarre story. And the last thing Major League Baseball wants to do is fine doesn't matter. Okay, so we don't want to. If they fine him $1 million for being, a little too close to something he shouldn't have been too close to, that doesn't matter. But if they would have to suspend him or whatever else, Ohtani's not going to do a press conference today. Say, "Yeah, I bet on baseball." He's not. He can't be that stupid. His handlers can't be that stupid because then he breaks Rule 21 of Major League Baseball, and he's done forever, like Pete Rose. Okay,
right.
So that's not what's going to happen. That's not what's going to
happen. All right. So we will have a lot of reaction to that on Wednesday. No question. Daily on Wednesday. I want to talk LSU men's baseball, baseball before we get to the tournament and all that. LSU baseball over the weekend. They took care of business on Friday. They were outstanding. Holman. He bounced back tremendously after the Mississippi State series and punched out 13 in 6 innings, and then Griffin 3-inning save. I mean, they pitched the way he expected LSU baseball to pitch in 2000. We had the whole year they've ever had, that they've got all this great pitching, and they lived up to that and against a good pitcher that Florida threw out, had some good at-bats, didn't have a homer, but was able to put 6 runs on the board. So they take care of business. Jump goes out Saturday and looks pretty good through the first, 4 innings or so, and then runs into some trouble. Thatcher Hurd is a problem. Okay, his ERA for the year is 7. His ERA in the league is over like 11. Okay, but they don't really have another option right now with Thatcher Hurd. They haven't developed another guy. Everybody pitched bad on Sunday. They're in a pickle right now, Tommy. They're 2-4. They had 3 hits, I think it was. Yes, 3 hits. They're batting I think they're hitting 220, 211, 220 in 6 games in the SEC, something like that. I can find it right now, but they're hitting like 220 in the SEC and through 6 games is this offense, and their ERA is 6 or something like that, 6 or 7, or maybe 8. I don't know. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna let you talk to this.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, Friday night LSU gets the job done. Good game. Keep in mind, Florida's a very good team. Florida's been a very good team for a long time under Kevin O'Sullivan. They're still a very good team, and they're going to be, they got a great shot to be back in Omaha, where they lost to LSU in the finals last year. But Saturday's game, Ronnie, is something you and I have talked about countless times. When you have a 2-run lead in the 8th inning at home, any game, but especially at home, you can't let that one get away. You've got to finish that off. Now, bad call might have contributed in the 9th. Missed a strike call, I thought. And then the guy gets a base hit, ties the game. It would have been end of the ball game if the ump made the correct call. But you let it get away. You can't let that happen. In the end of the game, in conference play at home. Again, Florida's a great team. Do not forget that. Don't let that not be recognized here. But then, Sunday was just, nightmare all the way around. Jay Johnson gets ejected. Watched his press conference after the game, said that's not going to happen again. He needs to be with his team. But I fully supported him getting ejected because they just gave a warning, and then Caglione runs his mouth after striking out Travinski. So he should have been thrown out. I mean, a matter of minute, but after the warning. And that's why Jay Johnson got thrown out. He went to the ump and said, if you're going to give us a warning, you got to throw that pitcher out. And, of course, they didn't do it. And then the sky fell on the rest of the game, obviously. But, the SEC umpires had a bad weekend. You saw the ump bump the kid at A&M. You see that video? Okay. Yeah, he kind of walked towards the kid and bumped him. So these umpires, nobody came to the park to watch you umpire. It's like the guy in the major leagues. You saw him call the guy safe at seconds. They said Lindor blocked the base when he didn't. It's new rule thing, but you have to have a path to the base. Umpires have to realize nobody's going to Alex Stadium tomorrow night to watch you umpire. That's not happening. There's not a single person in there, other than maybe a supervisor of umpire, that's there to watch you umpire. They need to quit like trying to be seen and insert themselves into the story. And the guy throwing out Johnson basically admitted that he screwed up by issuing a warning and not throwing the Florida pitcher out. So that makes it doubly bad in my mind. And, hey, bottom line, you said LSU's 2-4, and they got to go to Arkansas, who's the number one team in the country, Thursday, Friday, Saturday because of Easter Sunday. And those game times are 6, 7, and 2 in case you're scoring at home. Southeastern on Tuesday, decent team that's been hot. But then Arkansas, ooh.
LSU right now, I checked it, Tommy. 6 games, they're hitting 236 as a team. 36. They hit 280 last year as a team with an average 2 homers per game in the league. That was with White red hot, and that was with Cruz red hot. They hit 280 as a team. They're not going to hit 280 in the SEC this year. No way, shape, or form. I predicted 269 before the season that they would hit, and they're going to have to do work to get there. Their ERA, the most talented pitching staff that LSU's ever had, 1 through 20, which was being bandied about before the season, 8.2 earned run average as a staff through the first 6 games of the SEC play. They're fortunate to have 2 wins with those numbers, by the way. And Holman's got a 2.53 ERA through 2 starts. Griffin Herring is a 1.63 ERA through the first 2 weekends in relief. And that's it. Everybody else says that. The Gage Jump, 5.79. Hurd, 11.17. And like I said, the staff is an 8.2 earned run average. Brady Neal, 0 for 15 in SEC play. Kling, 0 for 10 in SEC play. So they're in a crisis mode situation because like you said, you got Arkansas, you got Vandy right around the corner. I mean, like, there is no let up in this league, and there definitely isn't any let up until the second half, to where it gets a little easier on paper.
Well, it's still the SEC. I mean, you got to figure out how to win 2 games at Arkansas, which is not going to be easy. It probably won't happen. But, I don't know if the panic button needs to be hit, but you might want to know where the panic button is. As you said, the second half of the SEC schedule is still the SEC, but it is a little lighter on paper than the first half of the schedule. But, hitting, and it's not there. Caglianone's a good pitcher. He could be the number 1 pick in the Major League Baseball draft. I don't know if he'll be Ohtani and play 2 positions at that level or not. But, when you can throw a guy like that third, but LSU just can't get it done. It's swinging and missing by a lot. I think they're picking pitches, which you can't do against a good pitcher. You got to get your foot down on a fastball, keep your hands back on a breaking ball. It's not brain surgery.
TK will be at the game rocking his Rougarou jersey, pulling for his Southeastern Lions on Tuesday. I'll be on the call Tuesday night with Len Rollins. You can watch the games, of course, on the ESPN Plus app. We look forward to LSU hopefully getting back in there. Tremendous job by the fans on Friday and Saturday. Top 7 largest crowds ever. Two of the top 7 largest crowds ever, paid attendance wise, were Friday and Saturday. That's really, really saying something. Let's get to the NCAA tournament, Tommy. How's your bracket looking? And outside of NC State being the number 11 seed, it's hasn't been a lot of upsets here.
We talked chalk a couple of weeks ago, and if you go into chalk, you'll be all right. I said on Sports Shorts Radio Saturday, I threw my bracket in the garbage, which I did. And then when I started looking at some scores last night, I reprinted it. Okay, I went print, and because I have it right here, I have 11 of the final 16 teams that I picked are still in that 16. So, and all my final four. So I got a chance to. I'm not going to win anything. I'll beat Hunter McCann, but I'm not going to win anything with the CBSSports.com. But I did have to reprint it because it's looking a little better, and it's because I went with a lot of chalk. I went chalk, and as you said, NC State, an 11 seed, is the only 11 double-digit seed still playing. By the way, after last night, there are 0 perfect brackets remaining in March Madness. And then the big story, the transfer portal is open. We're trying to find out who. There are players in the Sweet 16. Players in the Sweet 16, I repeat that, who are in the portal, okay? And they're playing for Team A, and they're in the portal, showcasing their wares, negotiating, posturing, whatever you want to say it. The NCAA would stand for no clue at all. I want to know who thought it was a good idea to have the men's basketball portal open during the men's basketball tournament. I want to know what person said, hey, this is a good idea. It's bizarre. It's insane.
Well, here's the thing is that, but do the same thing for football. I mean, the portal is open during football, during the bowl games. It should seem to me though, Tommy, that like if you're in the portal, you can't play for your school, right? Like, you're either playing, and let's say in the March Madness, you're playing for your team, and then when the tournament's over, you can put yourself in the portal. But to be in the portal, and whether it be in the same for the bowl games, which now the playoffs, the top 12, like you shouldn't be allowed to play. It shouldn't be an issue. Like, okay, if you want to go in the portal, that means you're quitting. You're quitting where you're at, and you're going in the portal, or you wait until your season's up. The NCAA thing with the no clue at all is it is a disaster. It is an absolute disaster. You got Nick Saban up in DC talking about the reason he retired was because of the NIL. You got coaches, literally. You got a head coach at UCLA that's going to become in football. Kelly becomes an offensive coordinator at Ohio State because UCLA is a disaster. They're losing all kind of money over there as a state, as an institution. Their Pac-12 just went to, dissolved. Now they're in the Big Ten. He's like, forget this crap. I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to go to Ohio State, a couple $1 million just to be offense coordinator and just worry about offense. It just seems like that we're headed towards a Titanic iceberg collision. And maybe that's what it's going to take, Tommy, for them to fix all the problems that are out there right now with collegiate athletics. Or just they've got to revamp the whole system. You can't just tinker here and there. They have to look at it almost like a whole different system. But that said, I can't imagine being in the Sweet 16 and also being in the transfer portal. That is just.
Well, Ronnie, Bill Self, Kansas coach, after they lost, he was forthright. He said for 1 month, not during games, he's coaching the game. He's been thinking about his roster, the portal, NIL, trying to prepare for next year. Now, people couldn't believe he did that, but a lot of coaches are thinking that, but he was the only one that came out and said it at a press conference, okay? But that's what has happened. I mean, it is a disaster. It's a mess. I don't know how they can fix it. I don't know. I mean, I'm not smart enough to fix it. I mean, the transfer portal is open July 1 to July 15, period. All sports, everybody, every division, every conference, that's when you can enter the portal, period. I don't know how you get around the mess that has been created. And as we've talked about, Ronnie, it's going to diminish the passion for college athletics. College athletics is not going away. You're going to have fans that go to games and take a road trip. But the passion, the caring about the LSU football game on Wednesday and Thursday is not going to be there anymore in time. And that's my opinion of what will happen over a period of time. It's just so bizarre and such a mess. It's just not the college athletics that all the fans grew to love. It's not the same anymore.
Right. No, you're right. Let's talk about LSU's women. A giant crowd Sunday. Who's who in attendance on Sunday to watch LSU punch its ticket to the Sweet 16. Now they travel to Albany, New York. Couldn't be any further. My goodness, that's a rough one. I remember going there. The Albany Firebirds Arena, AFL in arena football team back in the day. But unfortunately, we're not talking about LSU's women's basketball team and making the Sweet 16. And if they win one more game and Iowa wins one more game, they're going to face each other in the Elite Eight, which would probably be the most watched game in the country this year as far as ratings wise, and right behind LSU, South Carolina, women's basketball. But instead, we're talking about this impending article that hasn't come out yet. Don't know when it's going to come out. Tell us about what you know and what's going on. The world is upside down right now, the last 48 hours, about this Kim Mulkey press conference and this article that might be coming out.
There's a writer for the Washington Post named Kent Babb, B-A-B-B. He sent over a dozen questions to Mulkey, LSU Athletics, LSU Women's Basketball last week on like Monday or Tuesday, and wanted a response by like noon Thursday or noon Friday prior to the women's tournament beginning. And when Kim Mulkey, said we can't answer all that in that kind of a time frame, well, that's what prompted her 4-minute press conference to say, that she's hired a lawyer, the biggest defamation lawyer firm in the country, and it's a hit job and a hit piece. I mean, she knows what the basic substance of this article was because of these 12, more than a dozen questions. A lot of speculation on what it may be or not be. I think we got to let it play out. I've heard some things, but I don't know anything to be factual. But Kim Mulkey knows. LSU, Scott Woodward knows. LSU Athletics knows what the crux of this column or this article is going to be. And they reacted. They got out in front of it. Kim Mulkey did with that 4-minute press conference, which I watched. I've seen it. I know a lot of people have seen it. And it's is it a distraction? Can't not be a distraction, although LSU had a big second half against Middle Tennessee and won the game going away after trailing at half. But this is capturing all the headlines for the women's tournament because they, more so than the men, has been a chalk tournament. There's only been a handful of lower seeds, including Middle Tennessee, who won, against a higher seed. But Ronnie, I just don't know what's going to happen. I'm curious. I'm very curious, and we'll see. We got to let it play out.
Yeah, I hope this article comes out soon rather than later, because let's just deal with it. It could be a distraction and a conversation that's had over and over and over and over and take away from this postseason run and what, honestly, these girls deserve the attention right now. This should be a fun time. This should be exciting for the fans. And instead now, and look, I'm curious to play Monday morning quarterback to see if Kim Mulkey's handled this thing the right way. And we won't know until we see this Washington D.C. Post article, because, will she have overreacted and sort of made this big to do over nothing? I mean, let's face it. She initially said that this writer for the Post wrote a hit piece article on Brian Kelly a couple of years ago when he got the LSU job. Well, now, if you go back and read that article, it wasn't a hit piece, on Brian Kelly by any description of the definition of hit piece. I mean, if you just read it, it's not. First off, the guy doesn't interject his own opinion, but at the same time, the only person who questioned is this $100 million contract is, Collis Temple Jr., who, of course, is an LSU legend, LSU Hall of Famer, part of the Board of Supervisors, and he was one of the people that, in essence, approved this hiring, but it was questioning, like, hey, we got professors making it. Like, he said some things that, are legitimate. Should he have said it to a Washington Post writer? I don't know, whatever. But my point is that, Temple was the one that like, I don't see anybody beating him up. You know what I mean? I want to see Kim Mulkey call out Collis Temple Jr. publicly. You know, like, yeah, if you want to be, you know, like seriously, like that's more impressive than calling out some post writer from DC that nobody knows about. Like, show
Well,
me.
Ronnie, Danny Terrio is making a comment that the reporter's a resident of South Carolina, and he thinks he's an alumni of South Carolina, which the whole Dawn Staley, Kim Mulkey, the fight at the end of the game. I mean, you know, the whole thing. It's bizarre. And again, I'm gonna use the line we've used for years on Sports Shorts Daily. We got to let it play out.
That's been known that the writer is has South Carolina ties, and okay, and again, I go back to when we'll see when the article comes out, because we all know what the article is going to be. She didn't support Brittany Griner. She got a million times about Brittany Griner when she was in jail in Russia, and she had no comment, as opposed to, you know, speaking up on her behalf. We know Brittany Griner is gay, and we know that she was at a Baptist school, and that was taboo. You don't talk about it. You know. We're not going to be public. We're not going to be LGBTQ plus supportive and all that because we're at this Baptist college and we keep it. Don't tell anybody. Like, we know that. We all know that for 20 years that was the case. And so the article's going to be about that. It's going to be about that. And here's the thing: is that doesn't have anything. You know, I fully anticipate. I'm surprised there hasn't been an article about the whole Brittany Griner thing, because I found that bizarre as well. I mean, and I'm a Kim Mulkey fan, but like, wait a minute. Your former player, the greatest player you've ever coached in the history of the basketball, you coached him, and you won a national championship. This person is in jail for months in Russia, and you have no comment. Like, I'm surprised that there weren't a million articles written about this and all that. And finally, there is. I mean, I thought it was just a matter of time. So let's just deal with it. She had to know that by saying no comment, that eventually someone was going to say, wait a minute, I want to do an article about this story. So she now has to deal with it once and for all, have an article. She's going to get called to the carpet probably by Brittany Griner supporters and move on. But like, to me, I'm curious to see the article, because is she making it worse for herself by coming out in front of it, making this big to-do, threatening lawsuit and all that, as opposed to let the article come out, put out your little basic reaction, and then move on? Because she's still going to be a great coach. She's still going to win. She's still going to recruit. LSU still going to support her, no matter what this article says. And for her to say that, you know, well, you know, they're coming after my player and they're coming after our program. No, they're not. They're coming after you. They're going after you.
Well, but Ronnie, something hit a nerve in them over a dozen questions. Something hit a nerve in Kim Mulkey. What? I mean, you can't answer that right now. But something got her attention to A, spark a press conference, and B, the content of the press conference that I have already, you know, retained the number one defamatory law firm in America.
Strong. That's strong.
Yeah.
She's not playing. And like I said, if it's anything other than the Griner, and why didn't you support her, speak up on her behalf, and what's going on? Why the greatest player in the history that you've ever coached? Why do y'all not have a relationship? Like, that's a valid thing. That I've watched many documentaries, Tommy, that weren't as juicy as that, right? Like, I mean, I watch documentaries all day long. Hey, one of the greatest coaches and one of the greatest players don't like each other. Why? She goes to Russia and she's behind the scenes, you know, arrested for months, and you don't support her publicly. You don't. Why? Like, that's legitimate. You know, inquiring minds want to know. And if she thinks that we don't have the right to ask or be curious or wonder, or nobody has, well, then you're living in the wrong country. This is the United States of America. We can ask and want to know whatever we want to know. There's a million articles, there's a million documentaries on much less juicier topics than this one.
I don't think her not supporting Brittany Griner is a story. I mean, why not? I mean, Skip Bertman and Joey Bell, you know, that had, we all know that story. No coach has to stay in touch with a player, no matter how great they were or weren't, or what they achieved or what happened to them after. I mean,
Albert Bell is not the same thing. Skip Bertman literally kicked Albert Bell, used to be Joey Bell.
But my point, Ronnie, is a coach is not required to comment about a former player, good, bad, ugly, different.
Doesn't have to comment about anything, Tommy, but we have the right to ask. And people can go, I want to know. And if you're not going to tell me, then I'm going to go interview other people. And she's never spoken about it, right? Like, she's all, no comment. if Skip Bertman all of a sudden didn't talk to Todd Walker, the greatest baseball player in the history of LSU baseball, if all of a sudden it was Todd Walker's in Russia, what do you think, Skip? No comment. What? What? Like people would have what? Joe Burrow's in Russia. What do you think, Coach O? No comment. Like what? Like he has the right to not tell us a thing. When Angel Reese
That's my point.
Tell us anything, she has that right. But when you do that, then it opens up everybody in the world to speculate, and some are going to swing and miss in a big way. So, yes, it's the United States of America. You have the right to say or not say whatever the hell you want, but everybody else has the right to write an article or ask questions or speculate or whatever. And so which one do you like worse? So you can either just comment and say your piece correctly and how you feel and deal with those fallouts, or you cannot say anything and let everybody else speculate and maybe get it wrong and maybe make it look even worse. And you got to deal with that fallout. It's one of those two.
Well, Sports Shorts Daily on Wednesday should be hotter than ever. So we want folks to make sure you like and share this video, and then be ready. Put your seatbelt on. Wednesday could be a lot of fun with the Ohtani thing and the Mulkey thing too, off the court, off the field thing. So Sports Shorts Daily. I already can't wait for Sports Shorts Daily on Wednesday.
All right, TK, tell us about Court Street Cafe and Down.
Hey, they'll be closed Sunday for Easter Sunday, but they'll be back open Monday. I'll be here for Sports Shorts Daily next Monday, but they'll be closed Easter Sunday for every obvious reasons. But check them out. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, just a couple of minutes over the Mississippi River Bridge. Full service bar. They got all the March Madness going, LSU baseball, etc. Jason and the staff do a super job. Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. You need to check it out.
All right, TK, we'll be back Thursday morning for more Sports Shorts Daily. Then please make sure you like and share this video. And hey, Rougarou baseball season right in the corner. We're over 60 days away from TCL baseball. Texas Collegiate League will be taking on a brand new team, the Lake Charles Gumbo Gators, on opening night, May 30th. And then we got a second game, May 31st. It's our opening series. We hope to see you there. Go to brrougarou.com. Get your $100 season ticket, gets you and a guest into every game this summer. That's $2 a ticket. Support the Rougarou. Go to brrougarou.com. For Tommy, I'm Ronnie. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you Wednesday.